Reading with your kids.
Hey, so great to see you. Come on in. Hi, my name is Jedley, and this is the Reading with Your Kids podcast. It's Tuesday, so it's a special STEM Tuesday edition of the show. Our guest today is Jodi Wheeler Toppen. She is the author of Dog Science Unleashed. In addition to introducing us to this great book, she is also going to teach us how you can get your dog to yawn and an experiment to find out what color your dog sees. If you're the author of a great children's book, we would love to have you as a guest on the Reading with Your Kids podcast. And if you're the author of a great children's book, you are also the head of your business. That's right. And your business is the business of selling your great children's book. And you want to do it right. That's why I think you should check out readingwithyourkids.com/inkfile. INCFILE. readingwithyourkids.com/inkfile. Inkfile helps you quickly and easily form your LLC, S Corp, C Corp, or any other business. Start your business today for as little as $49 and state fees. There's no contracts. There's no hidden fees. Inkfile has been trusted by over 150,000 businesses worldwide since 2004. Check it out today. Remember, you are the head of a business once you write your great children's book. You want to do it right. Go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com/inkfile. INCFILE. readingwithyourkids.com/inkfile. Oh man, I am so excited. We have a fantastic guest for you today. Today we're speaking to the author of Dog Science Unleashed, coming to us from Atlanta in Georgia. Please welcome to the show, Jodi Wheeler Toppen. Jodi, how are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me on.
I'm so excited. I was telling Jodi right before we started the interview, we have this beautiful broken beagle in our home, and she told me all beagles are broken. But it just points out we say the word dog, and we kind of have an idea of what a dog is, but dogs are so different. I mean, breed to breed, individual dogs in each one of those breeds. I mean, you really can't, none of them are the same.
It's true. They change so much. Dogs change more than any other mammal from the time that they're born until they grow up, and that's part of how we're able to breed such a wide variety of dogs, so that every dog is its own complete personality, this special little thing you've got in your house, and nobody in the world has anything exactly like the one that you've got.
Well, I can say hallelujah for that, because that's one.
If you've got a rough one, that's true, especially.
No, we have a great one. He has some of these really weird behaviors. There's this one really annoying behavior when he gets mad at my daughter or one of the international daughters that we've had in the house. He has a very unpleasant way of expressing that displeasure. But we don't need to go into this. There's a family show.
Oh dear. Is this one that takes it out by going to the bathroom in the house?
On their beds.
Oh, that's the worst.
And at first we're like going, oh, what's wrong with the little dog? And then all of a sudden we goes, oh no, this is intentional. This is absolutely intentional. He's angry, and he knows who he's angry at, and he knows how to annoy them the most.
That's a good way to become an outside dog.
A good way to become an outside dog. I guess you could say that about people too. So that's a behavior we see in a number of dogs, I guess.
I think it is. And it's a testament to how smart they can be.
Yes.
And how much they're able to understand socializing with people, and they can know that an individual person's responsible for something they're unhappy about.
Wow. Now, how is it that our dogs did they domesticate us? did we try to domesticate a whole lot of different animals and dogs were the only, cause cats aren't really domesticated, but I mean,
no, they just live with us.
Did we just kind of happen upon this or how did that happen?
Well, that's really an area of very active research right now.
Mm-hmm.
It had until recently been thought that we domesticated dogs about 10,000 years ago, but there's starting to come in evidence that it was much older even than that.
Wow.
That it is definitely the earliest domestication of any animal.
Mm-hmm.
And that we've been living side by side with these animals for many years and probably even adapting so dogs have a much better sense of smell than we do,
mm-hmm.
and we have a much worse sense of smell than might be expected, given that we're mammals, and we have better problem-solving skills than a dog, and there's some actual thought that we kind of gave up those skills to each other because we were living in such a close relationship.
Wow, fascinating. Now, are the dog human relationship, I know there are different species, there's some kind of fish species that go in and clean up the bigger fish's teeth and all that kind of stuff. But is this the only area where, two species cooperate so well together?
This is definitely the animal that humans are the closest with. Mm-hmm. I can't speak to all of the different kinds of animal and plant relationships with each other. But dogs are so amazing. They can follow a point, which doesn't seem that amazing to us. But if you point your finger at something, a chimpanzee will come and study the end of your finger. If you point your finger for a wolf, the wolf just looks at you. But if you point your finger for a dog, it can actually follow mm-hmm. what you're pointing at and understand that gesture means something beyond you. That you're pointing to something across the room. And I don't know if you've experienced this with your dog where you're like, oh, the ball's over there. Uh-huh. And the dog follows the point and goes to the ball.
Yeah. That is one of the things that he follows and doesn't always find what we're trying to point to.
But you can tell that he's understanding
yes.
the idea of the gesture, mm-hmm. which is just a really amazing thing to happen across species.
That really is. And it's fascinating. And there is a communication. I mean, when he needs to go out and I'm working at my desk, there is a spot that he sits in, a certain spot. And the only time he sits in that particular spot is when he needs to go outside to take care of his business. And it's fascinating. And it drives my wife crazy. She's like going, you listen to the dog more than you listen to me.
They train us as much as we train them.
Yes. So how did you, because I know you've written a number of science books, but how did you get interested in writing Dog Science Unleashed? Well,
it is a book that just sounded like fun. It just came to me one day. I thought, an area of science that everybody is interested in who has a dog is all the quirks and interesting things about their dogs. I had been observing my dogs for years, and I just thought, there is something here. If I can get this excited about it, I know there are kids who can get this excited about it. And so I launched into doing a bunch of research about dogs and realized that there were so many ways that you could learn about this science with your dog mm-hmm. instead of just reading about it, that there would be potential to do activities that would be fun for you and fun for your dog and get a chance to also dig into what really makes a dog tick and what makes your dog special.
Wow, fascinating. Well, I definitely want to find out some of those activities that we can do together with our dogs, and I'll try my best with my dog. But it's fascinating. There are really, now we were talking about dogs are unique. Each dog is unique, but there are definitely traits that, we talked about. I had a St. Bernard's mini when I was a kid, and there are definitely traits that are unique to St. Bernards. And we also, in between the St. Bernards and the Beagle, we had a Border Collie who just blew us away with, I didn't know what a Border Collie was. And then we brought him home and we found out, it's the Einstein of dogs. I mean, this dog could do calculus.
They're smart.
It's really incredible the different kind of traits that are, come with all these different species.
Yes, and so from species to species, there are all these different, if you have a dog that has been bred over generations for herding instincts, then they're going to keep herding in your house. They're going to be trying to herd everyone into the same room. But then there are things that are the same across all the species. The anatomy and physiology is very similar. The heart, their lungs, how their blood pumps through their body, how their fur keeps them warm and dry. All of those kinds of things are going to be the same across all dogs. But then there are all these both breed-specific and individual traits that you can explore that are particular to particular dogs.
Now, you're talking about breeding, and I understand, why someone would breed a dog for, herding, and for hunting and things like that. But then there are these dogs that you can fit them in a pocket, and they have a nose about this. This big, and I hold my fingers about a centimeter apart, and they're just the oddest looking things, and it's like their snouts are too small to breathe, and it seems like some dogs were kind of bred that way for whatever reason.
Right. In the 1800s, people really got into breeding dogs for the way they looked, even more so than their specific sort of breeding or hunting or useful purposes. But all those dogs, no matter how different they are, there's so much that's still the same about them, which is what's kind of incredible, that you can take a little smushy-faced Pekingese and compare it to your Saint Bernards that you had all over your apartment, and there be so many things that are still the same, that they are still the same animal.
Crazy. Well, one of the things we love to do is, and obviously we would love parents to sit down and read Dog Science Unleashed with their kids. But I think it would also be really, really fun for parents and kids to do some things, different activities with their dogs. Are there any activities that you can tell us right now that can kind of get folks excited about learning more activities in the book? Jodi will be right back to tell us about that great experiment we can do with our kids and with our dogs. Right now, I'd love to tell you about a beautiful book that you can read with your kids and with your dog or your cat or your fish or any other living being or inanimate being in your house that loves to listen to you read. In fact, this is a book that was specifically written to be read by your kids to you. You're going to love hearing your kids read this book to you over and over and over again. And you're absolutely going to want it to be part of your family library. Now you can get a free digital download of this beautiful book called Love That I Matter to You exclusively at our website, readingwithyourkids.com. Sign up for our newsletter. It's free. You get a free digital download of Love That I Matter to You. And like I said, you are going to love listening to your kids read this book to you. Love That I Matter to You exclusively as a free digital download at readingwithyourkids.com. Any activities that you can tell us right now that can kind of get folks excited about learning more activities in the book?
Absolutely. One of my favorites was, and it kind of gets back to what we were talking about, how amazing it is that dogs can follow a point and things like that. I don't know if you've ever noticed that when you're somewhere and someone starts yawning, you start yawning. Mm-hmm. Well, so dogs can catch yawns just like people. So if a dog sees the person in particular, the person that they're the most bonded to, yawn, certain dogs will also yawn. And it's the only case that we know of cross-species contagious yawning. And so you can sit down with your dog, look them in the eyes, give a great big yawn, make some noise, and about half of dogs will yawn back at you.
Wow, that's crazy. I have to try that. I was told, we brought the Beagle into a pet store one time to find it a fancy little collar. And, of course he was freaked out and he was yawning, and the people in the pet store are like, oh, well, that dog is very stressed. That's a signal that the dog is stressed. And I believe them. No reason to disbelieve them. And I found that fascinating that we know that much about dogs.
Well, certainly in reading about the yawning dogs, which, by the way, as I was trying to write that section of the book, just writing about yawning, I was sitting at my computer yawning and yawning and yawning. But it turns out that people will also yawn in times when certain people will. That can be a stress response, to yawn if they're under a lot of stress. Oh. And they think that the yawning response, the way we yawn at each other, is actually an indication that we have empathy for the other person. There's it's coming out of some of the same parts of the brain, the yawning response and the empathy response.
Wow, fascinating. I love this subject because I love dogs so much. They've been such a big part of my life, even though I'm allergic to them.
Oh no!
Oh, yes.
Oh my! I bet that was quite a big deal when you had an apartment full of St. Bernards.
Well, it really was, and it's funny because when we never knew that I had allergies, and then we had dogs when I was little, and we went on a field trip in 3rd grade to the local arboretum in the spring, and I came home looking like a monster, all broken out with eyes out to here and everything. And
oh my goodness!
Yes, and so we went to the doctor, and the doctor said, "Well, you did all the tests," and said, "Yes, well, you're allergic to this, and this, and dogs." And I said, "I don't care. We're not getting rid of the dogs.
Dogs can be allergic to people as well. And that's one of the things, one of the scientists, in the book, I have interviews with a variety of scientists who do work with dogs, partly to, give an insight into how we're learning some of the things that I talk about in the science, but also because I want to give kids who love science and dogs a peek into some careers they might consider. Mm-hmm. And one of the people that I spoke to works with allergic dogs and trying to help dogs battle their allergies. And dogs tend to express allergies not so much by the sneezing and watery eyes and things like that, but by itching. They almost, whatever their allergy is, even if it's a food allergy or an allergy to people, which is really rare, fortunately, they show it by developing itchy skin.
Really? Wow.
And so this scientist was working on looking for ways to alleviate their itchiness.
That's fascinating. That really is fascinating. Now, one of the things in the note that you sent me is that there's an experiment we can do with our dogs, not on our dogs, and I like that you made that distinction, to find out what colors our dog can see. Can you elaborate? Because I was always told that dogs can't see color; they can see black and white.
Well, and that's a common misconception. They can't see all of the colors that we see. But, and in fact, I don't know, do you want me to give it away or just tell you the experiment?
Well, tell us the experiment first.
Okay. If you get a red ball and a blue ball, and you take your dog outside into a green grassy area, and you throw the balls for your dog, alternating the red ball and the blue ball, and you time how long it takes the dog to find the ball, you'll be able to figure out which one they can see better, red or blue, because one of them blends in with green for a dog. And the trick is you have to hold the dog and throw the ball, and then release the dog, because if you throw the ball and the dog is loose, he'll go purely by motion and just stay underneath the dog and stay underneath the ball and catch, get it right after it lands. Mm-hmm. But if you throw the ball and the dog has to look, then you can tell a difference of which one they can see better because of how long it takes them to find it against a green background.
Fascinating. This is really cool. Well, we don't have much green background right now here in Boston, so I'm going to have to wait until the
might have to be a spring
to do this. Does it work with white? Because there's going to be a lot of snow here.
It won't work as well as white because the issue is that they perceive green and the other color using the same parts of their eye.
Wow. Well, I love that. I love that your book really is, we talk about reading with your kids and how much fun that is, but I love that Dog Science Unleashed is all about doing activities, fun activities with our kids. And I love that because I think that this is a great way of really helping our kids learn, develop a love of learning, and then also develop a love of that kind of scientific way of thinking that I think can be so helpful in so many different areas. The whole idea of, why does this work? And let's see if we can find out if this works. And how does this work? And helping kids understand that it's okay to fail, because that gets us one step closer to knowing.
Absolutely, absolutely. And when you interact with science concepts, they're much easier to learn. I have a background in science education. I used to be a science teacher, and actually doing the hands-on stuff makes such a big difference in your ability to understand the science after it's presented. And so it's very important to me, and I think these activity books have the ability to take kids who love science but maybe aren't so much into reading and draw them into reading, but also to take kids who love to read but maybe aren't so much into science and help them get a connection to science.
Mm-hmm. And you just hit on something that I think is so very, very important. And we don't acknowledge it enough these days. Just like every dog is different and unique, every kid is different and unique.
Yes.
And every kid learns differently. But our system, our education system is better, but our education system isn't set up for that. It's set up for kids to learn in there's some variations, but a pretty specific way. And there are some kids who are just so, right here, tactile, and they learn by touching and doing things and maybe hearing the abstract, not able to kind of put those concepts, make them real in their brains as they're reading them. But if you actually get them in the real world and get them touching things and doing experiments, now it's like, I love learning like this.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I have to say, for my teacher friends out there are a lot of teachers doing a lot of really amazing stuff in terms of differentiating and being able to figure out how to reach kids in their class who are learning in lots of different ways. I'm actually surprised often when I go into schools, the really creative things that I see happening in that area. But I would say you're right. As a system as a whole, it's hard in that way.
Yeah, I am with you 100%, backing up those teachers who are creative because they're taking a big risk in some systems.
Yes, in some systems.
It's like, wait, no, I don't care if they're learning. That's not the way we're doing things here. So I know Dog Science Unleashed is just one of the many, many books that you've written. Tell us, we don't have time to go into them all, and that's a good thing because you can come back and tell us about some others. But just tell us some other books that are kind of like in the style of Dog Science Unleashed, in that they have some suggestions for activities for parents and kids to do together.
Well, I'm very excited because, of course, I couldn't do a book about dogs without doing a book about cats. So Cat Science Unleashed will be coming out in August of 2019. And this winter, I have a book coming out called This is a Book to Read with a Worm. And it is a picture book that is, in fact, to be read with a worm.
Well, I absolutely, you have to come. The cat book, I'm sure, is wonderful. I'm not a cat. My cousin's a cat person, so you can come on and talk about that. But I need you to come back for the worm book, because I am all sorts of intrigued about that.
I will definitely do that. I don't have its exact release date yet, but I'll get in touch when I do.
Well, I love your books, but also love your website. It's tell us the website address and what folks are going to be able to find there.
Once Upon a Science book. It has information on my books. It has information on a lot of things that I have written for teachers on integrating reading, science, and writing. It has a lot of information for teachers of free things that they can access for teaching science in their classroom or library, and different kinds of grants, free programs, science teachers are eligible to go on all kinds of amazing adventures that different science groups are trying to help teachers get hands-on experience themselves. And so I try to collect those on the website. So there's a lot of different things that might be useful for parents and teachers and kids.
Awesome. And I love that you mentioned that because, my wife is a teacher. She's been teaching for 30 years. And especially on the elementary school level, they have to know everything.
Yes.
And everything's changing.
Yes.
And I can't even understand how they teach math these days. They don't put the numbers like they used to. I don't know, to add 10 plus 5, you have to count to 30 or something like that. But
I Google my children's homework regularly.
Okay, but it's so different. So it's so great that there's resources for teachers on the website. And that, I think, and if you're a parent out there listening and you have a relationship with your kid's teacher, introduce the teacher to onceuponasciencebook.com. They're not going to be insulted unless you do it in a really rude way, but I'm sure they'll just be really happy. It's like, wow, there's so much resources here, and I can bring these resources into the classroom and, make the teacher's life easier because it is so hard.
It is. It's a hard job, and anything that we can do to support teachers is a good thing to do.
Awesome. Well, check it out, onceuponasciencebook.com, because Dog Science Unleashed is just one of the many, many books that our guest has written, and you got to check it out. And we can't wait until you come back on the show again. Our guest today has been Jodi Wheeler Toppen. Jodi, thank you so much for being our guest tonight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Please be sure to join us for the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Our guest will be Sherry Howard. She is the author of Rock and Roll Woods. And this isn't a book about rock bands in the woods. It's a book about kids. And the core of the book is about kids who are non-neurotypical thinking kids. Kids with sensory issues and kids that fall in to the spectrum, and kids that deserve our love and respect, kids who can be great friends, and kids who our kids may need a little help understanding. And so it's a fantastic conversation. You don't want to miss it. Sherry Howard, the next episode of the Reading with Your Kids podcast. Hey, if you are the author of a great children's book, you know how difficult it is to help your book stand out among the crowd of all those other wonderful children's books that are out there. We have something that has helped a whole lot of authors get their books noticed. It's called the Reading with Your Kids Certified Great Read Program. We've assembled a team of evaluators. They're educators, parents, and kids. And if they believe that your book is worthy of 4 or 5 out of 5 stars, your book becomes a certified great read. And with that status comes a number of great tools that will help your book stand out among the crowd. We are really proud of this program because so many of the books that have become certified great reads have really discovered a great audience. And a number of the books have been added to suggested read lists. Some books have been discovered by book award programs, and you just absolutely want to check it out. Go to our website, readingwithyourkids.com, click on the Certified Great Read link in the menu. You'll find out all about it. Hey, we absolutely want to thank Jodi Wheeler Toppen for being here today. Make sure you check out her book, Dog Science Unleashed. And of course, we want to thank you. Thank you so much for taking the time to join us today. And as always, thank you so much for taking the time to make the world a better place by taking the time to read with your kids. I'll be looking for you in the next edition of the Reading with Your Kids podcast.